Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and our next weekly update for Escape from Tarkov. Updates, news, anything that's going on over the week. We update here every weekend. Now there's a ton of info to get into here, so stick with me through the whole thing because you're not going to want to miss any of this. Now we kind of had to reshoot some of this. We filmed it last night, and in the editing process, they dropped the latest event, the Ryzhy event on us, which is one of the many things that happened. But we also got the translation from the Girls of Tarkov Russian podcast where Nikita talked with them. They changed BSG, the server selection process again, and we even got our first really good picture of Ryzhy, that's translated to the one who sees or sighted or however you want to translate it. But he's going to be the guard. He's a boss, but he's the guard of the new trader Lightkeeper. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the details, get you all caught up on what happened this week and what's going on right now in Escape from Tarkov. So first things first, Chronicles of Ryzhy Chapter 4 dropped on YouTube. I'll throw a link down below directly to BSG's page. Go watch it. I highly recommend it. They're all fun to watch, but this one so far has been the best in my opinion. But I'll give you the short story here. Spoiler alert, I guess. Ryzhy is fine. He survived his accident with breaking his beaker in labs. It got us all sick. That event's over with. The double damage event's done, but now we have our new one. He needs to get into labs and he wants Gluhar's help. So he goes and finds him. They have a little chat. Gluhar agrees. They go to labs. Firefight breaks out. They kill a couple of raiders. And then it ends up we have Nikita introduced as a character now in lore or canon, however you want to call it, for Escape from Tarkov. He's some kind of boss man driving a fancy Mercedes. It's kind of cool looking. So what does this all mean? This is the lead up or the introduction to our latest event, which is a first of its kind. You can scav into labs as a player scav now. There are also AI scavs wandering around, so keep that in mind. Gluhar is also 100% spawn on labs with his guards. Now, some things still to say the same. You still need a labs keycard as a PMC to get in. There's still raiders, and all the doors are still locked. It's not like they unlocked all the doors or anything. So as a scav, you're not going to be able to get into any of the restricted areas, but there's still a ton of loot around. Now, I'm only going to bring this up because I know it's going to be asked, and a lot of people are thinking it, and I'm honestly thinking it. This could actually be the start of pre-wipe events. It might not be, and let me explain why I think it could be. Usually the events that are pre-wipe blow the economy up. And if every player in the game is able to get into labs and access the loot that's on labs, and they haven't turned it down, that could nuke the economy. But it's on that gray area. It's not necessarily enough to completely blow the economy up, but we'll see. So this may be the start of pre-wipe. It may not. We'll know more very quickly in the next couple of days, I imagine. And speaking of that, that's what's the next thing we're going to talk about is a transcript from the Russian Girls of Tarkov podcast. I believe it was on Axel's stream. If you want to go find it there specifically to see it. The translation itself, I'll put down in the description a link to that. You can see it for yourself. I'm not going to go over everything because it's huge. There's a ton of text in there. And a lot of it is stuff that we already know. It's just being confirmed, or it's just general banter and chitter chatter. Not gonna go through every minute of it in this video, but I'm gonna hit the high points for you, catch the stuff that I thought stands out, and let you know what I saw. The first of this is all around streets info. It kind of jumps around. I put it into one area, but for streets, they said the goal when they launch streets is that it's going to be that it runs better than Lighthouse, and they're going to it sounds like the metric here is how many individuals are on the map, not just players but AI as well. Their goal is to get to 100. That's not what they're going to release it at, but they're going to work up that as they refine their systems. Now, to do this required them to have whole new systems, and I think technology to do that, and that is going to be implemented in other maps eventually to make them run better. So think Lighthouse or Reserve or other maps that you might have a lower frame rate on. And then also they said there was going to be no bosses on the first iteration. So we'll get streets, but there won't be any bosses there. Nikita also mentioned, and it was the first time I'd kind of heard him directly talk about this. They've kind of walked around it, hinted at it, but they want to move away from the free/fixed extract system that's currently in the game. So basically you get to an extract. If it's open, you get out. There's nothing to do. And then have all of the extracts be dynamic ones, like, just for example, reserves D2 or interchanges safe room, or, labs is button push. I mean, there's lots of them in there, right? There's lots of different things you have to do, whether it's the train, the cars, all of those things. That's what they want the extracts to be, is something interactive and dynamic. He also mentioned that they have pretty much finished a new mechanic for opening doors, and it's a keypad. So right now we have two systems, right? You go up and you use a key, and it just knows which key to use, and that's it. Or you kind of have a prompt like you do on labs for the key cards. They want to add a keypad system, buttons that you enter in a code, and that's how you open the door. He doesn't know when it's going to come in. Pretty much it's all ready to go, but it's something they want in the game. Now, the next one is back to what we were talking about a second ago, and that is labs being removed from the map selection menu. Nikita straight says this, that labs is going to be removed. Now, it's not clear if the context of this conversation was the next patch or down the future. We know it's happening down the future. But the way I read it, the way I looked at it, is it kind of sounds like it's coming in maybe even in the next patch, which would be really interesting. Now, the next one is one that's been on everybody's list, including mine, for a while now, is new voices, specifically for Killa, but Tagilla's getting them as well as the rogue bosses. They've got, sounds like they did a whole thing with voice actors, got a bunch of stuff done so that those guys have all of their own voice lines now, which is good because Killa sucks because he's hard enough to fight as it is, but when you can't tell him between a scav, it's just rough. Everybody who's fought Killa knows that. Then after that, they mentioned, Nikita mentioned that they're going to be shuffling the existing tasks again. We saw that happen last wipe. They just kind of moved stuff around. They made some quest lines easier, honestly, like the killing the boss. They're not all one linear now. They're linked to the maps. So I think we're going to see more of that to kind of freshen things up for players that have done it a lot, it sounds like, as well as a few more new ones coming, probably related to streets, maybe Lighthouse, we'll see. And then after that, kind of the last big thing I caught was that there's going to be new crafts, some requiring books to read or something along those lines. And we know about the new module with the workout module and probably some other stuff. But there's going to be apparently some big overhaul with the craft system that's related to story mode that we're not going to see till 1.0, basically. But with that out of the way, let's get on to something a little bit more solid. And that is the picture we got from BSG with our first look of Ryzhy. Now, this is a artistic render, if you will. It's not the in-game footage, but it kind of is, and it looks cool. They do these really well with a lot of their characters. Now, Ryzhy is going to be the guard for the Lightkeeper, who is the up-and-coming trader, the new trader that's going to be out at Lighthouse. Now, fingers crossed, hopeful that because looks like they're going to he's going to come with the patch. That means Lightkeeper's coming as well, even though we haven't got any solid confirmation on that. But I don't think they'll add him without Lightkeeper. They could. It's definitely a possibility. I just don't think they will. So by us having him, I think that indirectly means that Lightkeeper's pretty much ready for the patch as well. On top of that, he's got an AXMC with a Reap IR on it. So that's a 338 Lapua right now in the game. A bit of interesting side information for those of you. The AXMC is actually a multi-caliber weapon system. You can change barrels and bolts and stuff like that and shoot multiple calibers out of it. But in the game, it's only a 338 for now, but I suspect there's more coming in the future. And as per the past, it's probably not his only weapon, but this one is damn scary as it is. And I wouldn't actually plan on killing him to get that weapon from him. Think of him as Santa on steroids. Now, if you weren't aware, last year we had an event on Christmas time with Santa. He was a scav, he ran around and gave gifts. And if you killed him, you could loot him, but you nuked your scav karma. And a lot of people didn't realize that it was too late. And you had people at -5, -7, -10, -15 scav karma with no way to get it back. It was so bad, BSG actually did a special event for people to earn their karma back. Now, I think that's what's going to happen here with Ryzhy, is he is going to be kind of a gatekeeper for Lightkeeper. And if you kill him, you're going to nuke your karma with Lightkeeper, and you're not going to be able to get stuff from Lightkeeper. And I would guess that Lightkeeper is going to be the gatekeeper, if you will, of some pretty high-end, high-tier loot. Maybe things like GLs or armor or gear related to some new mechanic coming to the game. You'll only be able to get it from him, and if you piss him off, you're shit out of luck. And on top of all of this, it looks like Ryzhy's probably a cultist, or at least he's very, very closely linked to them. And that's based on the necklace he's wearing. That's a cultist symbol, pretty straightforward and simple. But his story could be more complicated, and we just won't know till he gets into the game. Now, last but not least, a quick update about the server issues, the server changes, where BSG changed everything from server selection to virtual regions. And go watch my last video from last week about it. I cover it all, get you caught up. Long story short, after we did that video, BSG did another patch the very next day, and they added a few more areas to fix problems players were having connecting to the game, primarily centered around Asia, Australia, the South Pacific, if you will. But there are still people out there having trouble. I've talked to a few people who live in kind of extreme regions that basically only had one server they could play on, and now that they have to select a region, sometimes they connect to that server, sometimes they connect to another server and they get kicked off. it's kind of a sucky situation right now for a small group of folks, but not an unimportant group of folks. On top of that, there's been a lot of issues with people being able to play with each other. The big one that I hear primarily is anybody in the United States and Europe. There's a lot of issues now, but I know there's more than that. There's guys in Australia, United States, Asia, Africa, across the board. I know there's problems everywhere. Just the ones I talk to are primarily United States, Europe. And this isn't just a tough get over it situation. BSG needs to find a solution for this for more reasons than I can list here. And here's just a couple ideas that I've heard of or come up with myself. For example, Pesley mentioned a long time ago about BSG creating a server or a group of servers that players can connect to from all over the world. There is no ping lock. You can connect to it and you can play with your friends from across the country, and you just connect to that full on knowing the risks that come with doing that. High pings, possibility playing with shady people, all of that kind of stuff. Now, on top of that, the folks that were doing this, that, like, for example, United States and European players that were playing with each other, they usually picked a server. And a lot of the times, from what I've seen, it was New York. And everybody could connect to that okay. Maybe they come up with a system that has a specific selection for New York. If the system looks and sees these two players are connecting from Europe and the United States, this is the only server they're going to get queued on. And at the very least, I feel like the matchmaking system, if it's matching players, I don't even know why it's putting people into a server that is above the ping limit for them. Because it's not like, okay, let's just say the ping limit's 150. I know it's higher than that, but your ping limit's 150. You load into a server and you're 140, and then you spike and you get kicked. It's not even that. It's people loading in and they're 190 ping, 200 ping, and they just get kicked instantly. Why that's even happening on the server, oversight, maybe it's just part of the system hasn't been put in yet, but I think that's something BSG needs to address. If they're going to have a ping lock system, you shouldn't even be able to connect to a server that you're going to get kicked from. Now, all I have for you is, if you're having these issues, submit a bug report. I know that you might roll your eyes at this, but explain clearly where you live. You don't have to give your address, but city and country. What virtual region you're trying to connect to, whichever, and include a screenshot of your ping selection, and let them know how often you're getting disconnected. Is it 100% of the time? Is it half the time? Is it less? Whatever it might be. Put all that in the bug report so BSG knows where to look for the issues. This is what happened in Australia. It happened because there's a really big content creator in Australia who was able to get a lot of attention to everybody's problem really quickly, and it got fixed in a day. So if you tell BSG and they can get eyes on it, they can realize what it is, maybe there's something they can do to help you out. But that's it for this week. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you get these updates when they happen, especially when we do midweek updates. If something really big happens, we'll do a video right then and there to make sure you guys are in the know. Otherwise, we do a recap every week to get you guys caught up so you know what's going on. And as always, I want to mention my music. The link is down in the description, and it's free to listen to on Spotify. We have 140 songs on 8 albums, and it's not just created for me or for you to listen to. It's also created for content creators in mind. If you are one of those and you want to use it on your Twitch stream or your YouTube videos, you're more than welcome to do that. We will not DMCA, take down, or copyright strike you as long as you attribute us. That's all we ask. It's yours to use. It's free. Just attribute us. So otherwise, give it a listen. Let me know what you think. It supports the channel and it's free. But with that, I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching the video. Hope you liked it. Make sure you hit that like button if you did. I wish you the best of luck in your raids. We'll see you in Tarkov.